And new data from the CDC shows cases of whooping cough are rising across the country. The numbers are 5 times higher than this time last year and higher than we've seen in a decade. ABC News medical contributor Dr. Alok Patel joins me now for more on this. Dr. Patel, I remember my pediatrician warning me about this when my kids were babies. So what is whooping cough and what symptoms should we be looking out for?
Well, Diane, the pediatrician in me is shaking at this headline because whooping cough is a highly contagious, serious bacterial infection. It can affect our upper respiratory systems, causing inflammation and inability to clear that mucus and that telltale coughing fit. Now, the first couple weeks may appear like a mild cold. You may not think anything of it. And then that can progress after a couple weeks to those coughing fits, which can affect people's ability to sleep, breathe, eat. You can even fracture a rib from coughing so hard. And these symptoms, if that's not bad enough, can last from a few weeks to several months. And in young babies, they may not have the coughing fits at all, and it may appear as difficulty breathing or even pauses in breathing. That is why awareness and education is so incredibly important when it comes to whooping cough, which is also called the 100 days cough.
The 100 days cough. I don't know which one of those names sounds worse, but I don't want either of them. So how do you treat whooping cough? How do you know if that's what you have and not just a regular cold or cough like you're saying? And then how do you treat it if you do have it?
The important part for people to understand is that you may not always look at someone's cold or cough and say, oh, this must be whooping cough. Fortunately, doctors do have a test based on somebody's exposures, their vaccination status, their symptoms. We can test it and it can be easily treated with an antibiotic. But Diane, the most important thing to talk about is prevention, which vaccination is the mainstay. Now, quick history lesson, back in the 40s, the United States saw about 200,000 cases of whooping cough a year, probably a lot more than that. That number dropped by about 99% in the mid-70s when we had a whooping cough vaccine. So vaccines today are the most important thing for people to go out and do to protect yourself and your families against whooping cough. We need about 5 in childhood, 1 every 10 years, and then pregnant women should get 1 during the 3rd trimester to protect their developing babies, because babies are not eligible for whooping cough vaccine until they're about 2 months old.
Now, are certain groups more at risk than others, and can you get the vaccine for the first time as an adult if you never had it as a kid?
So the groups who are most likely to be sick or get severely ill from the whooping cough are those young babies and infants, the elderly, and anyone who has a compromised immune system. And I'm glad you asked about adults. It is totally possible that the whooping cough vaccine wanes its protection over time. So it's important for adults out there to get a booster every 10 years, just like you would with the tetanus. But I want to go back to protecting those young babies. So in pregnancy, getting that whooping cough vaccine in the 3rd trimester is extremely important in protecting your young infants. And check this out. In the United States, about 80% of babies under the age of 2 months old who get whooping cough will be hospitalized, 8 in 10. And getting a vaccine in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy can reduce that risk by about 90%. So if there was a step you could do to prevent your young babies from getting hospitalized, you would do it. This is what I say to everyone out there who has questions about the vaccine and vaccine hesitancy, which is still kind of rearing its ugly head at us after the pandemic.
Anything else we can do to try to protect ourselves and our kids and other loved ones from this?
No, absolutely. You know, I can go on and on about vaccines, but personal hygiene is extremely important. That is hand washing, wearing a mask if you have symptoms, or staying home or keeping loved ones home if they have any symptoms as well. This is part of the reason why we saw such a dip in cases during the pandemic. People were a lot more cautious about not getting others sick. And now that we're kind of returning back to those pre-pandemic numbers, if you're going higher than that, we really have to pay attention to more than vaccines, but paying attention to the fact that if you're sick and you think you have a mild cold, that might actually be whooping cough or something serious in somebody else. So do the right thing, stay home, wash your hands, and get tested if you need to, or if you have any suspicion that you may have not only whooping cough, but influenza, COVID, or any other nasty respiratory virus, which might just see more of a surge this upcoming flu and cold season.